running a year ago.
Just keep it off the cuff.
Yeah. We're going to keep it off the cuff. 2, 1, and bam, we're live. Recording out of Williston, North Dakota. Jordy Harger, thank you for jumping on as a guest here this afternoon. You are the Capex operations manager. What sucks is that we're both in North Dakota, but because we don't have this podcast thing figured out yet, I'm upstairs, you're downstairs, and Nathan, you are in sunny, maybe rainy Whitecourt, Alberta.
Yeah, definitely rainy Whitecourt, Alberta.
Monsoon season has not stopped.
Yeah, it's not letting up. It's just wet.
And I'm trying to adjust. Thankfully, my computer does it for me, but it's 84 degrees outside. I'm so used to Celsius now. I don't know. Is that 27? Somewhere around there. And I got into Williston about 9:30 on July 4th. And probably all of our listeners will know that's Independence Day in America. And if you have not been to North Dakota or Williston over July 4th, oh my gosh, it is nonstop from like 8 p.m. till 3 in the morning. You think you're in a war zone. It is crazy, the fireworks going off on July 4th here. I was able to witness it when I lived here 5 years ago, but I forgot. And when I came back, all the memories came flooding back. There's fireworks, just everybody's lighting them off in the street. It's Jordy, what'd you think?
Yeah, I've never experienced anything like it. You know, we've lived here now 2 years in Williston, and normally travel on the 4th of July, go see family and friends, and blow off the fireworks and enjoy all those festivities. And this year, we were out at the lake for the day, and we got home about 8 p.m. on the 4th of July Monday, and it was a battle zone. It was a war zone, as you said. We sat on the couch for an hour, kind of watching fireworks out the window without even having to go outside. And my 4-year-old and my 6-year-old ended up sleeping on the couch with their ears covered because it just went on and on. And I've never heard or seen anything like it from a fireworks point of view. It's pretty special, really. The community showing their patriotism, and I never could have anticipated it to be quite like that. And have heard stories before, but until you can see it, live it, it's something real.
Yeah, it was awesome. I drove by 2 fireworks stands, Nathan, and it was 10:30 p.m. by the time I drove past them. They were still open, and people were in there buying fireworks at 10:30 p.m.
Wow. Is it, so you're saying, Jordy, it was extra special this year, or just every year it's this special?
Well, so this, like I said, this being my first year, it's really hard for me to compare it, but from what I've heard from the guys here, it's every year it's magnificent. It gets pretty wild, gets pretty hot and heavy. And, I know last year there were some burning bans because it was so dry. We've had a fair amount of rain this year, so it's kind of helped a little bit. Not a whole lot of limitations on lighting off the fireworks. So, I think, if this is how it is every year, and last year there was limitations because of the dryness, whether these guys had them saved from last year, I don't know. Couldn't have anticipated it to be quite like that. It was the house behind me, the house next to me, the house across the street. And, I woke up the next morning and jumped in the truck to come to work, and there's shrapnel on the front of the truck. And, in the box of the truck, there's, the little propellers from some of the bottle rockets and stuff. And yeah, just an all out war zone. So,
You were doing such a good job at telling that story. Nathan left.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys. We got an AC unit here, and it's freezing cold outside. No idea why it's kicking on, but it was making all kinds of noise, and I didn't want to ruin the podcast with my background noise.
No, I think the last time I was here for July 4th was 2015, and it still would have been hopping then. But then my guess, Nathan, is the last couple of years, like downturn. And then last year we had fire bans, like Jordy said, so they weren't allowed to light any fireworks. So And then this year, just I think with the industry picking back up, a little bit more cash flow for people, I think that probably helped COVID and not being able to do stuff as much. Although I think Williston was pretty well sheltered from some of the, the mandates and some things going on. I think it was still pretty open here, but I think there's a combination of factors that made this July 4th pretty darn special and pretty darn loud. But
well, you picked a good time to go down and visit then, Ben. You got a real
Oh
party
yeah.
in. Yeah.
Oh, it's awesome coming back and driving through the old neighborhoods and seeing a lot of changes and also a lot of things that haven't changed. And again, I'd push that back on COVID. I think they had all sorts of plans to do some things. The airport used to be in the middle of town. It moved out of town maybe 2019. So there's 800 acres right in the middle of town that they're developing, but it's hardly been developed. And I think it just got a massive hold here with some of the COVID and then the oil field downturn and just kind of wondering what long-term investment might look like here. But yeah, it's awesome to be back in the shop here with Jordy and the guys and meeting a lot of new guys for the first time. So it's pretty fun. Jordy, with you this afternoon, why don't we just jump straight in to what were you doing right before you got into the oil field? And then when did you come into the oil field and the Bakken was your first experience? So why don't you go through a little bit of that?
Yeah, so let's see, it would have been 2008. I was working what I called kind of a dead-end job. It was a union job back home. And
where's back home for you?
Back home's Thief River Falls, Minnesota. So it's about 6 hours straight east of Williston. Yeah, not too far here from Williston, where our family is. So, yeah, I was working what I thought, kind of a dead end job there. I was making really good money, kind of right out of high school and stuff. And I just, I wasn't happy doing what I was doing. And the money didn't really seem to matter. I wanted to do something that I was passionate about. I wanted to do something that I enjoyed, but at the time I had no idea what that was. So I told my dad, I said, Dad, I'm going to quit my job. And he said, well, what are you going to do? And I said, I don't know, but I'm going to do something different. And, his response was, you got the best job in town. So, he kind of put it in that context. And, he worked in a union job for 35 years. And, Hey,
Jordy, I know you've seen it because you love this type of stuff, but the sports movie with Mark Wahlberg, that football one, is it Invincible, where he's the Philadelphia Eagles guy?
Yeah.
Do you remember that? Do you remember that movie?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
I just remember there's a scene in that movie where I think he was a school teacher. The real life guy, I think, was a school teacher, and his dad had a union job, and they're talking about how, Philadelphia Eagles and the football got him through and the Super Bowl and all that stuff. But the mentality was like, or even in talk football movies, even Rudy, where in the movie Rudy, like everybody's got these union jobs, and that was like, this is the best you're going to do. Be happy about it. Be proud about it. But don't aspire for anything greater than that.
Right.
Would that have been any of the mentality in Thief River Falls or say with your dad?
Yeah, absolutely. I at a young age, I had a really good job to where I was working with guys that had been working there for, 25, 35 years. And I was making just as much money as they were. And I had a position that was just as good as they were. So like in that aspect of it, like, you got your foot in the door, why would you leave here type of thing. And for me, it was just, I wasn't happy. So that would have been like 2008. And at the time, I actually got a call from my uncle who lived in Williston. And he said, hey, why don't you come out to Williston where we have a dispatch role? I'd love to have you come out and get started. And I really didn't even give it any thought. I said, no, I'm not going to do that. Like, this is where my family's at. This is where my life is back in Minnesota. So I ended up kind of going back to college, a 2-year 2-year school. I was bartending and I was working at a meat market. So I did end up quitting the union job because, I like I said, I just wasn't happy. I needed to do something different. And I can't say that the bartending gig was definitely fun. Met a lot of people and learned a lot of things from bartending, actually, that, guarantee I use those skills, or I developed those skills through bartending that I have now as a manager. So I'm appreciative of that. But, I did that for a couple of years. And then I had the call again to come back to Williston in 2010. And it was my uncle. He said, "You have to get out here. You have to get out here." I said, "Okay, well." So I drove out from Thief River Falls. I think I was working late night shift, and I drove all the way over into Williston, sat around an office all day for an interviewed about 4 p.m. that afternoon. And, the guy asked me how soon I could start. And I said, as soon as possible. And I drove out with, I don't even think I had a pair of boots, probably tennis shoes and jeans. And I don't even know if I brought an overnight bag, but I was going to be staying with my uncle that night. And, in the interview, he said, "How about tomorrow morning?" And I said, "Absolutely." He kind of put a challenge on me. And I remember going down to Walmart and I got some white t-shirts. I got some either Lee or Wrangler jeans and, a cheap pair of steel toe boots. And I met him the next morning at 5:30 at the shop, and we went right out to a drilling rig. And that's kind of a whole different story there.
Let me ask you real quick, what was your favorite drink to make as a bartender?
Well, it depended on. I'd say Friday evenings, everybody enjoyed the Long Island iced tea, and I could make a damn good one. And then I'd say on Saturday, everybody loved the Bloody Mary, because Friday was, probably a rough night. So, and I can still make a damn good Bloody Mary. So I enjoyed making those two probably more than anything. They're not super difficult, but yeah.
So you're running out to the drilling rig, and what was your role?
So a field.
Lost Nathan.
Field
We lost
technician.
Nathan. Sorry, we lost Nathan. No big deal. You were a field technician.
Okay. Yeah, like an operator, a field operator. Going to go out and dewater and run a centrifuge. And we're driving out to the rig that morning. And the guy that interviewed me is, sitting alongside me in the truck. And there was another kid in the truck that had interviewed the same day. And he's bringing us out to the rig. And on the drive out to the rig, he said, he looked at me and he asked me, he said, "Have you ever run a centrifuge before?" And I looked back at him confused because I just interviewed with him and he kind of got my life story, and knew that I knew nothing about the oil field. So obviously I answered the question, "No, I haven't." And when we pulled up to location, he pointed to a trailer and he said, "Well, in that trailer is a centrifuge. And essentially this is what you're going to be looking at after. This is what you're going to be doing. And kind of more or less, I'll see you in 12 and a half hours." And
nice.
I can't tell you that I've really thought about it. I've thought about it a little bit, but not the context of walking up to that equipment, on a massive drilling rig. The first time you do that, it's kind of hard to do that with confidence when you really don't know what you're looking for, right? So nonetheless, get in there and kind of look at the equipment. And there was another operator in there that didn't seem to know a whole lot about running the equipment.
Another solids control
Another
technician.
Yeah, he would have been the day technician. Yeah. But, he kind of gave me a quick rundown on everything, and that was that. And, I think I quickly found out within the first couple hours that he didn't know anything. So, kind of cutting our teeth there. We were on a freshwater string, likely drilling a surface. We had an H&H fixed speed 5500, and a 2-inch pump. Nothing was variable speed. The pump, you controlled the pump volume by shutting a valve and essentially deadheading the pump itself. So yeah, it was a bit of a train wreck, but there was a lot of learning from minute one to 30 days in. Throughout that first hitch, the amount of things that we learned was just it was wild. About the drilling rate.
Yeah, guys talk about getting fed by a fire hose, and that was probably nonstop those first couple weeks.
Well, yeah, definitely got fed by the fire hose. I'd say those first couple weeks for sure, but I think there was something in that I really enjoyed. The ability to go out and kind of learn this on my own. I as difficult as it was, I really appreciated it. And putting in that solid, hard day's work, coming home covered head to toe, and not doing the same mundane task, but learning. I found it as something really special for me, and really challenging. So, yeah, that's kind of where it all started. And I'd say the fire hose didn't necessarily go away. As the organization grew and we picked up more work, I kind of seemed to be the fireman. So, yeah.
And can you remember, you kind of touched on it, but can you remember what was that first feeling or thought process when you got dropped off at the rig? Was it just like, holy F, what did I walk into? Yeah. Trying to be a little bit family friendly here with the expletives, but what is going through your gut? And I guess maybe to take that back one second, had you been or worked around heavy equipment? I don't think we got into what your union job was. So had you been around heavy equipment? Have you operated any of that?
Not really.
Okay.
Like some small forklifts, stuff like that. Not really any heavy equipment, not like dirt equipment or anything like that. So.
And this was 2010, right?
This would have been 2010. Actually, it was just after July 4th, 2010. So honestly, I believe it was July 8th. So like July 8th, 2010 is when I really started out there.
12 years ago.
Yeah.
And so, sorry, your mentality when you walked up on location, was it just like, yeah, what was it?
Yeah, I mean, just really taking it in. Like, I remember having that feeling, kind of thinking through it now, not really having the confidence to walk up into that trailer and just know what I'm doing. But at the same time, I came out here to pursue a better lifestyle, pursue, a new challenge, something different. And I didn't even know what a drilling rig looked like until, we might have drove by a couple on the way to the one that I was working on. But I mean, really, I knew nothing. So, really hard to describe that feeling. I'd say, like I said, not super confident, but just really taking it all in, the vibrations, the noise, the sounds, the smells. And it was great, and I really enjoyed it.
Love at first sight.
I think it's easy to say that. My first hitch was a 35-day hitch. And it was painful by the time it was done. But, it was amazing. The different things you get to see, the people you got to meet. And that was kind of the fun thing, I think, in 2010 there was, a small town guy like me who knows a lot of people from the town I'm from. You go to the grocery store, you go wherever, you know everybody. But now you go out to these rigs where there's, 15, 20 guys working on a rig, and everybody's got their own story, so quickly, you're kind of meeting these guys, and this guy's from Michigan. There was a ton of guys that were working out here from Michigan at the time.
Probably the UP, hey?
A lot of Upers. Yeah, a lot of Yoopers. So, got to meet a lot of those guys and guys from Montana, and, a few from Wisconsin. So, yeah, it was really something pretty special, pretty neat right out of the get go.
Yeah. And what in those early days for you, can you recall one or two things that just really drove your success out there?
Well, definitely my work ethic. I wasn't going to let anybody work harder than me. Um, Going back to that interview, the guy that interviewed me essentially told me the sky's the limit, and seniority doesn't so much matter, and you can essentially pave your own path. And I kind of knew that a little bit, somewhat talked to my uncle getting into it, but I wasn't looking for any favors, wasn't looking for any handouts, wasn't looking for anything like that. This was kind of a time for me to prove what I could do on my own, and go out and pursue it, and kind of show my family, show my wife, my girlfriend at the time, that hey, I can do this, and yeah, so
35-day hitch. When you got home then for the first time, your dad, your girlfriend, what were their reactions? What'd they think? Had you just been crazy?
Yeah, I mean, my dad definitely supported me when I came out here. When it came down to it, he supported me. And, obviously everybody wants to kind of hear the stories. What's it like out there, and what is it that you do? And even, I think, as you probably know, Ben, it can be hard to explain just what it is we do sometimes, to somebody who might not necessarily be familiar with the industry. So, kind of going through that and explaining to everybody what it is that we do, and how the lifestyle is when you're living on the rig, and the people that you meet, and, just obviously all the other things that are happening in Williston with the growth in 2010. So, yeah, fun 35-day hitch.
And can you remember how many rigs were running back then? How many rigs were running in 2010? Any idea?
In 2010, I really do not know. I'd say there was a lot more than
Come on.
I want to say maybe 50 or 60. I do know.
And what are we running now?
We got about 35 right now.
35 right now.
Yeah. But there was that point where we were at 225 rigs, 220 rigs here in Williston. I mean,
2013. I think we peaked at that I would have said 210, but yeah, probably 220, 225, depending on how you run it up. On average, I remember telling guys that, probably on average, we were running 180 rigs.
Yep. Yeah, and I couldn't imagine, right now, say 35 rigs here in Williston. I couldn't imagine 210 rigs. In this area of the country right now, the activity levels, and, just supply chain, manpower, the infrastructure, right?
Yep. I had to give Lyle a call earlier today, and he was asking me about Williston, and we were kind of talking about that. And, we're seeing the same challenges in 2022 with 35 rigs that we saw with 180 rigs back in 2014. Like, can't get trucks, can't get parts, can't get people, all of that stuff. But that was 180 rigs. How do we do 140 more rigs than what we do now? And we're already running out of people and parts and trucks, and it's madness.
Yeah, it is.
But let's get more into that in another episode. You're going to have to be a repeat guest for us as we do updates on what's going on in Capex and Williston and Texas. Yeah, no, we'll keep it fun. So can you remember what Williston was like in 2010?
Yeah, I can a little bit. So I would actually lived with my uncle, for about 6 to 8 months, I think, when I first started. So I wasn't going home a whole lot. I'd go home, maybe for a week, but I would have lived with him and just really helped, kind of get things lifted off as we were doing solids control for this outfit. And, so I go to the grocery store and stuff, and it was busy. There was people coming in from all over. I remember going by one of the parks, and there was tents out there, and there was dogs tied up to the trees. The guy that was not in the tent, he was out working, but the dog was sitting there, tied up to the trees. So, some of the things that, a person saw back then, for me, that was an absolute culture shock. I'm not used to seeing that, small town boy, things of that nature. But, back then I really didn't get out a whole lot. I mean, I was focused on what I was here to do out in the field. And it was evident, with working that many hours, working that many days in a row, that, rest was important. So it was a lot of sleep, and, that July, I mean, I remember it being hot, and just, you'd come home and you could have changed clothes probably 2-3 times in a day. But, didn't spend a whole lot of time really seeing a lot in Williston. Grocery store, and almost as if with my uncle here, I was living at home, but really focused on working.
Yeah, back then, and I didn't arrive until I started coming in 2011, and then moved my family here in 2012, I think. But I started coming in 2011 and got to, you were earlier than I was, but I still was witnessing, all the tents and the campers and in the Walmart parking lot. You had the guys, I think by then the guys were regulating that tents in the park pretty good. I think there's been documentaries now about people living in the churches and how all that stuff was going. But yeah, it was pretty intense. Even when I was here in 2011 and then 2012, just starting to settle down, where there was more apartments, more housing, more opportunity to get into a permanent structure. But there was a couple years there. It was the Wild West, and that unless kind of like July 4th, unless you've experienced it, it's very hard to explain. But there are some YouTubes and documentaries out there that try.
Yeah. And how do you manage it? The influx of that growth, how do you manage it? It's that's difficult.
Oh, I think a lot of people would, especially back then, give the city management a hard time, and it in some cases maybe rightfully so. But the influx of people, Williston, is at 30,000 people, but it was supporting probably close to 100,000 people.
Right.
Like the number of drilling rigs, and so it's, when you're a town of 30,000, there's nothing you can do to support another, twice that, 2 or 3 times that. And Williston's the hub, where all the major companies and action is. And yeah, so it was a tall task. And I, over the years got to meet some of the locals and more of the local, some of the government. The mayor came out for our opening ceremony for Capex when we did the whole, grand opening. That's the word.
Yeah.
And so, such great people, but I just imagine they had so many sleepless nights trying to manage. And, Williston is a boom and bust cycle town, where they went through a massive bust in the 80s, and we'll have to get some people on in Williston to talk about that. But, during the 90s and early 2000s, even, you talk to some of these old timers, there was only 1, 2, 3, maybe 5 rigs running. And so there's just a handful of rigs running, and everybody knew each other, and the company men were the same. And all those company men became drilling managers by the time 2010 came around. And it was a crazy time. And maybe getting into that a little bit, do you have just something off the top of your head? What was prior to coming to Apex, what would have been your craziest experience on the rig or in the field there?
Oh gosh. I don't even know where to start.
Too many of them. Find one, and then we'll we'll pepper you with more stories in the future.
Yeah, you'll have to ask me because the more I talk about them, the more they seem to come out. But just a quick one. That first hitch, I remember the derrick hand was from Michigan, and he and I got along really well. So I was working nights, and I think we were up on the pits, and we're up on the rig pits, and seen this headlight coming in off in the distance, and we kind of pointed it out, and we both watched it, and couldn't understand what was going on, and here this guy. Mind you, we're probably 20 miles off a highway, out in the dirt gravel roads out northwest of Williston. And this headlight comes in, and it's a Harley or a Yamaha, a guy on a bike, and it's, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning. And, we walk out and talk to the guy and try to understand why he's on location. And he asks us if we know where Williston is. And, we kind of pointed in a direction, and, he got back on the bike, turned around and headed back down the gravel road. But, that was one of the early ones. Like, that was the first thing, is one of these guys, coming in looking for the opportunity to make some money and, maybe have some time off and provide a better life for his family. And 2 o'clock in the morning, in the middle of nowhere, here he is on a motorcycle on our rig. So that was just one of the first ones, but there was many, just to see what things were like then when I was in the field, to where things are at now. It's night and day, from an equipment standpoint, a culture standpoint, a safety standpoint, all the way around. How it's changed is just, it's wild to me. It's great to see, but we didn't know any better when we were first kind of cutting our teeth out there. So,
yep. And can you remember when we brought you in to interview you in the trailers there at Capex?
Yeah, I remember me, you, Doug, and Aaron. And I think it was, it was probably a 2 to 3 hour long interview. A lot of discussion, good discussion. So probably the longest interview I think I had ever had in my life. And I don't even know if we'd call it so much as an interview, as much as it was just, kind of a welcoming, getting to know each other and, talking about, our lives and, the organization and things of that nature, right? So, no, I deeply remember it, and one thing I remember is Doug was even getting tired, and he can talk a fair bit. We were going for a long time there.
Yeah, and I'm trying not to put stuff in my own memory bank here, but what I believe I recall is just the big Jordy grin on his face. Like, can't get a bigger smile. Can't find somebody more optimistic. As much as, you're hating probably talking about yourself right now, couldn't have found somebody more confident, more optimistic, and kind of on that verge of cockiness. I know what I know, and I know a lot, and I should be paid a lot for what I know. And man, you were a tough negotiator. and I didn't know you. Doug was, I think, familiar with you, and had brought you in, and, we thought you and Aaron, you guys, we hire one, we're going to get both of them. And back then, you needed all the guys you can get. You need them both, and you get the experience. And I can just remember, even from moment one, like, just the energy you bring into a room when you come in, or that you bring onto a rig. And, interesting that you're a bartender. Maybe it's from those bartender days. Like, you carry yourself so well. It's interesting for me to hear that you weren't very, it makes sense. You weren't very confident when you went to the first rig that you went to, because you just ooze confidence now in just about everything you do. And I'll go back to it, the optimism that you have in every situation. that I've ever encountered you in is it's really special. And I think you've only said it twice, but it's something you say often, but you've said the word challenge twice since we've been talking, and you thrive on a challenge. And I think it's part of that confidence, cockiness, in a good way, and the optimism that you have, because you see it as a challenge, but you don't see them as barriers. You don't see them as roadblocks or stops or any of that stuff. It's just, all right, here's another day. Yeah. Opportunity. Exactly.
It's anytime you're faced with challenge or hardship or whatever it might be, it's all opportunity. It's all in how you look at it. And I think that's, where that came from, I don't know, but that's the way that I like to look at it. It's, if you, part of it could have been that union job. You never worked with a bunch of more negative people in your life and suck the life out of you. And that's not me. Not what I want to be associated with. So yeah, no, I appreciate those comments, but yeah, anytime there's challenge, there's opportunity. And I guess that's the only way to look at it.
Yep. And I've had the opportunity now to interview you several times, because we had, we brought you and Aaron in to interview you to come on as a solids tech, and, knew you were pretty special from that interview. And then you interviewed a few times with us as we started hiring or promoting supervisors. And I could just remember taking notes, and everybody, you walk out of the room, we're just like, oh, Jordy nailed it. Like, just nailed it. I think one of the only reasons, I think there's two reasons. One of the only reasons, though, that we didn't bring you on as supervisor right away was because you were so new. I think we probably hired you in 2013. Was it May or March? And we, we had put a supervisor in place just a month or two after you started or something like that. So we wanted you to get your feet wet a little bit more, but it was, and hopefully that was the feedback you got was, hey, we just want you to grow with the company a little bit more. But then I got to interview you again. Let me think. Maybe even for another supervisor position, but by what year was it that we sent you over to Ohio?
Well, it would have been late in 2015.
2015, yeah.
August of 2015.
Yeah, and just because of all these character traits that we've kind of already talked about that we saw in you from day one, it was when we were contemplating, Jonah and I, we'd gone out to Ohio. We had some meetings. We saw an opportunity to kind of get on a few rigs out there, and knew we had to send our strongest solids control hands out that way, because we weren't going to have a manager out there, and we were going to run it differently than how we ran in Williston. And it was hands down, who's the guy that we want running and leading that? And it was you. So we sent you out there as a supervisor, but I think maybe as a lead supervisor, along with a handful of other guys that were with us, and some of which are still with us today. And you just, you put yourself out there, and we quickly kind of made you a field office supervisor and then a manager out there. And now you're running all of Capex's operations. But truly a pretty special experience, knowing you were going to be a key part to our operation from probably the first moment you sat on the couch in the trailer before we had this nice, beautiful building. It was pretty special getting to know you over the years.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. It's nothing that could have been predicted, right? In the industry that we work in,
Mm-hmm.
But there's that challenge again. From the Ohio journey to getting back up here to North Dakota, just through all of it, there's been plenty of challenge, I think, not just for me, but for our group, for our team, that we've had to face, with the downturn of, 2015 up here in the Bakken, right? When we had this small group of guys that was handpicked to go out to Ohio and really figure it out, right? Because how else do you do it? You know, you can plan, you can prepare, you can do everything you want, but you really just got to get in there and figure it out. And I think those were some interesting days too. You know, the early days out in Ohio, getting that, you know, really getting our ass kicked, and quickly, but not giving up. You know, and quickly learning what we needed to do, and you know, impressing some customers by our resiliency, you know, our character to persevere and show them how we face challenge. So
yeah, we had some great men out there. You, Noah, Lucas, Daniel, Jeff.
Yep.
I know I'm missing a few there, but
yeah, we had Jeremiah Maynard came out, Cleve Heikela came out. You know,
yeah,
Mike
we had some real strong hands that, yeah, Mike, some real strong guys that came out and helped, and we just said, hey, at least give me 3 months out there, and if you hate it, you can come back to Williston. But please, that was my plea to everybody was, if I want you to commit to going, and if you go, you have to go for at least 3 months, and then we'll look at bringing you back if it's not working. But everybody went out and was committed, and you know, a lot of challenges early days, but you certainly everybody persevered. And
3 months.
yeah, I don't know that was. I don't know that it was an option.
Yeah.
Yeah. You probably didn't get that, but
yeah,
everybody else did.
Sure.
Yeah. No, we needed you out there, and you were gracious enough. You moved your family out there. You had a couple kids at the time, moved out to Ohio and looked after stuff, and have since moved back to Williston for us. But yeah, man, that was some fun stuff. I remember sleeping on the hotel room floor, was it you, me,
and
Jonah?
Yeah.
I think, yeah. And we had gone out there, and why was it just an early scouting trip for us?
Well, yeah, it was an early scouting trip. So we would have went out and looked at a competitor's operation. Their technicians had no problem kind of showing us what they had and how they were running it and things of that nature. And the operator was fine with everything as well. And what I remember about that was Jonah talking me in to have a few drinks. And I enjoyed that, and coming back and you sleeping on the floor. And, you know, at the time I'm, you know, obviously heavily involved in the field, right? So obviously we had a connection and a correlation, but not to the level that it is today, right? So I felt like I was doing something wrong, going and having a few drinks, and you know, you sleeping on the floor of the hotel. But
and that was not because I was drinking or drunk.
No,
I remember it, and I'm trying to set this early impression and it was a downturn. Like, you know, we're being cost conscious, and I was trying to make sure that I set this early impression, like, hey, we're not just lavishly spending. And so when you get out here to Ohio, Jordy, I want you to, you know, be as frugal as possible. So I went, no, Jordy, Jonah, you guys, there's 2 queen beds or whatever. You guys take the beds. I'll sleep on the floor. And that way we don't have to get a second hotel room. We can keep our costs down. And I don't know if that stuck. Oh, wow. You're pretty good at minding your expenses, but
I'm pretty frugal.
Yeah. You're pretty frugal, and make a dollar go a long way. But I think that was, you know, that was a way for me to try and, I don't know, show you, mentor you, manipulate you into thinking that we need to.
I figured as much.
Jonah was more than happy to jump in the bed. He didn't ask if he should sleep on the floor.
Well, I'm sure he bought drinks, so there's that room. It was probably good that you didn't get the second room, because it paid for the room and board there.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
No, it was awesome, and I can't say enough good things about Jonah and the help that he provided getting out to Ohio, and the relationships we built out there, and that was pretty fun.
Absolutely.
Man, I just had one more Jordy story go through my head, and I think I just lost it. Shoot. Anyway, why don't we just, we're about 45 minutes in here. why don't we do a quick update on Capex, because there's a couple big changes, some new hires we're bringing in, and we don't have to talk names and too great of details yet, but why don't you just take us through what's going on in Capex for a few minutes here?
Yeah, so I guess what's going on today, we've had kind of think about them 2010 days, and in some ways, we've had an influx of growth, here in North Dakota and also down in Texas. Really a great thing. The yard's quite empty, from a solids control equipment standpoint, and the same from our well site accommodation. So there's been a lot of hiring. I think we brought on 40 people over the course of the last 3-4 months. And we have a lot of people lining up on the door that are ready to come and work for us right now. So, that's been a lot of fun as well, just bringing new people into the organization. Bringing in a couple of managers right now. So a manager in Texas, a manager in North Dakota. So there's been a lot of new faces within the organization, but, a lot of good culture fits, a lot of good team player people, and really looking forward to seeing how we kind of bring everything together here with the influx of activity and the new people in. And, I think everybody's having a lot of fun right now. So, you go from a couple of years of really not doing much, and then there's that challenge again, faced with getting the equipment turned around and prepared and ready to go. And, you can plan all you want for getting everything ready, but until that influx of activity that we've seen here over the course of the last 90 to 120 days really hits you, you really can't prepare for it. You just have to be ready, and you got to have the right team fit. So I think that's what's been a lot of fun, is going through a bit of the gauntlet here the last 120 days with the team in the Williston branch, and to see what the guys down in Texas have done as a team. It's impressive. So no, it's exciting.
Oh man,
we're busy.
Yeah, I mean, sorry about that. I keep talking over you.
No, it's all good. It's just exciting. It's a lot to be happy about right now, and proud of the team for getting everything out. And yeah.
Yep. And it's impressive. It's exciting. And the guys that we have are so impressive. The Lucas, the Daniel, the Jeffs, Adam, Tori. We've got some great guys in our well site accommodation team, Brad and the others. You've brought in a strong dispatcher recently, and just some real game changers. And for you, I mean, ever since we started having conversations around management and leadership, you've more or less been a broken record on its culture fit, and it's who we're hiring, and less about the skills they have, although we try and combine the two of them. But your philosophy on hiring, I think, has always led to such strong success, because like you said, you can plan as much as you want, but you get thrown these curveballs, and then it really just comes down to who's on your team and can they handle those curveballs, because we just can't prepare for them in this oil industry the way that we would like. And, we try to, and we have such a great maintenance program and strong equipment team and all sorts of things. But you get thrown these curveballs, and it's just about who's on the right and left of you and what they're willing to do. And our guys consistently are willing to step up and help out. So yeah, I love that your philosophy, we never had to train any of that into you yet. That's the philosophy you came with when, as you continued to gain influence in the organization, and you've done a good job bringing the right people on.
Yeah, I appreciate that. With the preventative maintenance program that we have, the equipment that we have, the way that we look after our equipment, obviously servicing to the levels that we do, I feel pretty fortunate to have that as a tool. That's amazing. So then from there, if equipment's pretty easy and we have equipment figured out, and we got to focus on the people. And, I think that's been the most imperative thing. And I think what I've learned there is just over the years, kind of really those cultures that you don't want to work in.
Right.
You know, kind of a toxic culture, or really a culture that doesn't even have an identity. And you see that in the oil field for sure. I saw that before the oil field, so it's everywhere. But no, I'm really fortunate to be in the role that I'm in, and kind of help steer the ship a little bit and contribute to that culture with the rest of the guys, because the culture is everything. You know, the people are everything. They're driving our culture. It's easy for me to say it, but it's the guys out in the field. It's every person working for our organization that helps to make us who we are, both here at our shop, obviously, and then out there to our customers. And, you know, that's something that I want the guys to be proud of. They should be proud of that. You know, I'm proud of that. And yeah, that's where it sits, you know, and I guess I don't know much more to say about that.
Yeah, no.
Pretty.
Yeah, no, that's all good. It's exciting. And we, you know, coming down here, we definitely have recognized in the last 3 months, we've needed to get you more help. We've needed to push a little bit harder to put some people in place, and we're starting to get it now. So some of those things that, you know, we consistently have done over the years, that when you bring 40 guys on and, you know, 60, 90, maybe 120 days, some of that just kind of goes by the wayside. And so it's exciting that we'll bring a couple managers in. We've got some other strong office staff in place now that will be able to kind of carry the load and get back to doing that small town, small family company feel. And it'll be nice to get back to that, and yeah, just spend more time with the guys, spend more time in the field, and really drive that culture. And that's what some of this is about, is, you know, it's difficult to see everybody all the time, but if we can try and impart a little bit and in little ways here and there.
Drives me, you know, that's what really drives me. The guys that are out in the field, you know, looking after operations and stuff. It's, you know, you got to have a sweet spot. You got to have a soft heart for those guys, because of, you know, I've worked that, right? I've been through that. I've missed the birthdays, missed the Christmases and stuff. So, you know, if you can have that camaraderie with your team, let them know that, you know, you understand that and you're here for them, and ensure they have the support. That's everything. So definitely excited as we're bringing in these managers, and, you know, getting back out, spending that time in the field a bit more than what's been here the last 120 days. And yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yep. No, it's awesome. Jordy, coming up 53 minutes here. Thanks for joining me today. It'd be pretty exciting. We'll get this posted right as soon as we can. Any final words? We'll have you on again, because we'll keep doing some Capex updates and get into some more stories over the years. But any kind of final words? Or
no, I don't believe so. Just good. Thanks for having me on. You know, obviously I didn't really know what we were going to all be getting into here, but I think I appreciate you having me on and kind of going through things, and look forward to future episodes. I think it'll be a lot of fun, and I look forward to kind of hearing some of the other guys within our organization stories as well. I think it's going to be a really exciting, fun thing for the group. And yeah, glad to have you in Williston again.
It's awesome.
Fun trip to have you down here and whatnot. And
man, and to talk about Williston real quick, recommendation: if you're in Williston and you have not been to Pit 105, the barbecue place, you have to go. I think I got a couple more days here, and I'm pretty sure every lunch and dinner is going to be at Pit 105 right now. Man, it is the best barbecue that I've had in a long time, and I think it would rival anything that they do down south.
I'd agree. Yeah, it's second to none. You're not going to have a bad meal there. And I've only ordered, I bet you I've been there 9-10 times now, and I've ordered 3 things off the menu. So
I'm going to be there 9 times this week.
There you go. And 1 thing off the menu.
I did 1 thing off the menu. That's right.
Yeah.
Yep.
No.
Thanks, Jordy. If you can see, I'll I'll quit the recording here, but then I'll ask you to just stay on a little bit longer while it finishes uploading.
You bet. Not a problem.
Thanks, Jordy.
Thank
Take
you.
care.